said, it's your whole identity, who you think
Yeah.
you are, that's falling apart. So it's like everything that makes up that, this job title, this job position, this company, this ladder in the company, the other colleagues, the goals with the job, the ambition with the job, the future with the company, the future career, all of that starts falling away.
Hmm.
So that's where it's natural. Like that's where there's no surprise that you say like, oh yeah, this kind of job came to an end, or this I'm in some transition period here, or I had to let go of this. Because it's like you let go at like the rate that you're able to process, I guess you could say. Because
Hmm.
they're little things. Then there's going to be another thing that you let go of. Then there's another thing. But like I said,
Hmm.
as I always show you, like the root of it is you, is who you think you are. Because all of that other stuff, it's what creates that. It's a matrix. It's like a spider's web. It's
Hmm.
all held together by the me. And
Hmm.
that's what you're seeing through. Both of you is like you're experiencing that, is you're seeing through this me, where once you're seeing through it, you can no longer resist it. You can't deny it. Well, you could try, but you just experience more and more suffering. And that's where like it's kind of always beating around the bush, is like, oh yeah, well, I just let go of an old friend. I let go of my favorite color. I let go of my favorite food. All these little, that's all superficial. It's dancing around it.
Hmm.
It's coming to grips with, coming to acceptance of, no, who I think I am doesn't exist. It's not there. We keep looking and it's not, we can't find it.
Yeah.
So then what happens is, it's like I said, it's like you can't come to terms with that and that full acceptance and surrender to that. So then it's like it slowly starts falling away from like what seems to be almost like external, like the job. Oh, that's not that super close, but it's the job. Then it's like a relationship, and then it's family. Then it's getting closer to home. It has this feeling like it just kind of gets closer and closer,
Hmm.
where that's where you start noticing it. But like the noticing is, yeah, there might have been, you can feel where it's like, I was so controlled by this, or there was so much fear with the job, but then now it should feel like, oh wow, I can breathe a little bit more. There's more space. There's more openness. There's more possibilities. There's more spontaneity. There's more freedom.
Yeah.
That's where that, because you can see how tight it was. You can see how much of identification there was, how much attachment there was. Because you can't feel free when you're attached to things. And as long as you're attached to things, you're always going to be controlled by them.
Hmm.
So it's just this feeling of, it's like letting go of that, breaking free from that, and then experiencing more of this freedom or more of this naturalness. And then it's like you step into the unknown even more, where it's like, whoa, who am I now? What, the job title was this. Now what am I? I'm in
Hmm.
this transition period where I used to call myself an engineer, but now it's like, I'm not doing that job anymore. So now what am I? I'm in this no man's
Hmm.
land kind of thing. So then you experience that. And that's where, like I said, for everyone it's different. For everyone it's different of what's happening. It could be like a relationship that they were in, some 5 year, 10-year relationship, where the other being in that relationship gave them the sense of self. Oh, this one's my partner, this one's my whatever significant other. And then that then gives you such an identity, a sense of self. So
Hmm.
then it might come to terms with that relationship, whatever it is. It's different for everyone, but it's basically that type of stuff. You start seeing it where you can't unsee it anymore, and then like you said, it's something that you recognize, that it's kind of like you knew it all along, but then it's
Yeah.
like, oh shit, I can't hide from this one anymore. Like I procrastinated long enough.
Yeah. It's a lot like that, and exactly. It's like it was. looking
It's
back at
almost
it,
like
it
the
seems like
elephant in the
you're on
room.
this
It's like the
chain
elephant
of
in the room
events.
feeling.
Yeah, like I was on that timeline with it. It's like, why was I even uh, existing on that timeline? And I can see it like it's something similar might come to life in something new, but now I'm different, or like it's just going to be a different experience now.
Yeah.
That's what I like. It's not like I'm stepping in and even explaining it to other people. It's like, whoa, but it's like now I'm not explaining it like I'm excited to be this guy and part of this thing. It's just like, yeah, I'm doing this
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Almost like,
Because you're not identified with it. It takes being identified to get all kind of excited about being this because it doesn't, you're not being that guy. You're not
yeah,
be you're not, it's not who you are. You're
yeah, the
you're realizing that it's your unlimited nature. You're realizing that you can't be limited by just this one identity.
hmm
So then that was just an experience. The other engineering job was just an experience. The relationship is just it's all just experiences
hmm
that you as awareness are experiencing. So then it's like it's you start seeing how it's like it was so limited, it was so tight. So then it's like letting go of that. And it's like a mental letting go because you're letting go of the idea of becoming something. You're letting go of the idea that the happiness is at the top of the ladder in the company. You're letting go of the future happiness that it's going to be there when I'm in the manager role. You're letting
hmm
go of all of that. And that's where you're starting to see it's like, oh wow, yeah, it's all of that is like this
I,
identification, this self-image. You see, it's
yeah,
like there's a lot of self-image tied up with the job.
yeah,
And
there
it's
was a
almost like
lot.
it's almost like you took off like a costume. It's almost like, let me just take that off. And then you're like, wow, it feels so natural. It feels like I don't need that. This whole time I felt like I needed it. But when you're wearing it, it's almost like it feels like it's two sizes too small and it just feels uncomfortable. It's not what you actually are.
hmm
So it starts taking it's like you're in this metaphor, it's like you're taking off the garments, you're taking off the jacket, the shirt, all these things, but it takes removing all of that, taking off all of that to then just be left with your essence. It takes removing all of those lies to basically be left with you're left with the naked truth. But that's what the vulnerability is. It's removing all those things, removing all of those things
hmm
that we basically have we've added all of those things.
Yeah,
Those are add-ons, but then they could become so familiar and you get so attached to them that then it's like sometimes you don't want to take it off.
yeah. I mean, phase one was I thought was like I guess a year and a half or a year ago was okay. I dropped this idea that I was looking to impress by doing better, like the performance idea, but I was still very drawn into being, I guess, performing well for myself. Okay, okay. I dropped the. I'm not climbing a ladder here at this place, but then it took me a while longer to drop my own like expectations I had of myself that I were buried, that were
Mm-hmm.
definitely buried, and realizing I was like struggling every day, like it was resisting everything that I wanted to actually do.
Yeah,
So whenever I was just being and it just felt like I was being pulled. Like
yeah,
why am I subjecting myself to it? Like there's no reason. It's just because the only reason I'm doing it is because I think I have to be this person.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
built
Well,
these 5 years doing this.
whenever you have those expectations, it's always about a future. And whenever
hmm
you have the expectations, then you're naturally going to try and control life to then reach those expectations, which then always
Yeah.
comes back to then, okay, if you're controlling life to get to those expectations in the future, then you're believing to be in control. But what life shows you is it's like peeling back these layers to show you that you're not in control in the sense that who you think you are is not in control. As a separate
hmm
entity, there's no control. And
hmm
he's even worse than that because it's not even that there's a separate entity that's not in control, it's that there's no separate entity.
Yeah.
But that's what's happening. That's what the process is. It's showing you. And it's whenever you're believing to be a separate entity that's in control, then you're going to suffer. That's the experience of suffering. That's the experience of resistance, because you're trying to resist everything except for maybe one possibility to then go that way to my expectation.
Mm.
Whereas actually, if there's no separate doer, then it's just whatever's happening. It's just like that's what's happening. You're not trying to steer.
Yeah.
But that's what I said, is that's what kind of, when we explore it, that's what you're seeing. That's what you're seeing into that. You're seeing through, oh wow, I'm not really not really a me here that's in control. That's just a belief. But a lot of times it's not like, oh, okay, perfect. Acceptance. There's just surrender to that, like right there. It's like it takes time for it to kind of sink in and kind of process, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
And it might show up where it actually might show up as like a huge amount of resistance, um, in terms of fear, and then resisting that. It's like, oh, I don't like that news. I'm really pissed about that news. And then it's like even more resistance than before,
Mm.
because that's what you're always running from. What you're running from is this present moment. And it's like in the present moment, it's like there's no control, because
Yeah,
everything is
exactly.
just unfolding spontaneously. There is no separate doer in the present moment. When you're super present, there's no doer. Everything is just unfolding. But then mentally, you're creating a past. This is my story. Here's the future. This is what it's going to be. And then that's living as this separate character. That's the only way that it can exist, as past and future. It only exists as imagination, as thought. But when you see is like when you're like sinking in and being more and more present, it's like, yeah, it's not even here. And we're looking for it by exploring.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like always coming up with your hands empty, going, didn't find it today. But there's something that's still resisting that says, no, 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 maybe I didn't see it. I didn't see it clearly. Maybe it's under a fifth rock. We looked under four rocks, but you're like, maybe there's a fifth rock that I didn't look for, didn't
Yeah.
find it. It's like the news that you'd never want to come to terms with. But
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what happens, is it's like, oh, it's like kind of like life kind of just like has is like, well, if you don't accept it, then it's like, well, just turn up the heat then. And it's like, then the suffering gets even more intense, because then you're resisting even more. And it's almost like, it's like you looked, you didn't see it, but then you're in denial. So then it's like you're holding your hands in front of the eyes kind of thing. Where it's like, I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything. It's not there. It's not there. But it's really about it was never there. That's the thing. That's her it's what do you call it? Like a hard pill to swallow. It's a hard pill
Yeah.
to swallow. But that's, like I said, that's looking at like the negative thing. It's like, oh, well, then it's like, what are you losing? And it's like nothing, because none of that actually
Never
existed.
had it. Yeah.
Yeah, you never had it. Well, but what are you gaining? It's like, well, there's not you that's gaining anything. It's the realizing that you are everything. You always have been. That you are never limited. That you've always been unlimited. You're so unlimited that you can imagine being limited.
Yeah.
You're so free that you can imagine being enslaved. That's the irony of it. It's total acceptance that you will accept the imagination of non-acceptance.
Yeah.
You allow everything. You'll even allow resistance to happen. That's like the irony of it. That's the paradox of it. The love, the unity will it will allow the imagination of separation to happen. The belief in being separate. So then
Even
it's like I said,
when you're
there's
not fighting your environment though, it's like you're putting yourself in this position. Like that's how I felt at the end of working there. It's like you're putting every day you're putting yourself in a position where you think, okay, I'm just going about this. I want to win. I want like I don't want to just set myself up, I'm not prepping for it, but in your you have to acknowledge where you're playing the role too much. You're getting sucked in and it was like it felt like there was no option, but there always are options. And I was always looking at okay in a day what I could do to not get into that, let's say, habit. But it felt like something had to change because it kept pushing into me, and it happened with seeing others within the company
yeah.
and them expressing the exact same fight that I had. It was like telling me, like, look,
Yeah.
everyone's doing this, so like probably probably something to change.
Yeah. 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 That's like as the awakening process is unfolding, it's like you're getting the whole thing out there is what is going on inside. So
Yeah,
it almost has this feeling of like, is everyone experiencing this?
yeah. It literally, yes, yeah.
It kind of
Lots of
feels like
times I
everyone's
watched
waking
it.
up with you. Like, whoa, everyone's going through this.
Yeah,
But that's how it just feels. Like is this that it's I don't know, it's just the part of the process. And then like I said, there's a lot of synchronicities, there's a lot of like just that projection, there's a lot of the reflection, there's a lot of yeah, it feels like that. And then when there's changes being made, then it kind of feels like, well, like everything else is kind of changing.
yeah,
Like there's a change that was made and then that stuff changed. But that's what I said is like it's because it's like you're living in your own bubble, just seeing your own mind. And then until that's like pop, then it's like, oh, here's reality in the sense of you're not seeing through the lens of your beliefs and your expectations and your goals and your desires. You're not seeing through that because that's
no,
what it is. It's like looking at reality, but through the mind, it's like looking at it with tinted glasses. So it's like the glasses are like tinted like yellow or orange, and it's like everything looks like that. But those
no,
that tint is like your thoughts, your feelings, the beliefs, the fears, all of that stuff. So you're not seeing it as it is. You don't see reality as it is. You're only seeing reality as you perceive it from the belief in being a separate me. It's like the me is like it's like this filter. So you're only you look at reality through the lens of separation like that.
what I had a thoughts of too that I watched the thoughts is, am I making this move because I find that those are around me or where it's maybe it's an expression of my own past, but are not, they're closing their mind to it, they're looking away, they've been doing it for such a long time, but I'm so adaptable that hey, maybe it's good that I can come in and open people. But then I realized it's not. I see that I'm differentiating myself from a group of people, others. And as soon as I notice that, and the thoughts are kind of like it's pricking me. They're like it's a prick, it's a
Yeah.
trap. It's funny, but like if you go down that level, as soon as I go, okay, I look at other people and their emotions and their thoughts about the job. It's like too much, too much already because uh, it's really just mimicking what I. It's like
Yeah.
going into your mind and looking at a mirror in your
Yeah,
mind.
you're looking at the wrong stuff. You
So
have
I
to
closed to
turn it.
that and I said, okay, well, what's the bigger picture? What are the feelings that I have that I'm actually feeling instead of what are the thoughts? And I went
Yeah.
through the feelings to notice that I put my happiness on the side. I've always kept doing this to get somewhere, and it's conditional, and it's like
Yeah.
might as well try something different.
Yeah.
And if it's a sacrifice of all the different relationships that people
Yeah.
feel are amazing and that we're gonna go so far, it's like it's all
So
building
yeah,
on some
it can
big
look like
thing.
that. It
Yeah,
can look like that because it kind of looks like it could show up as like almost like a fork in the road when you
right.
see that you're unhappy and you've been unhappy for such a long time and you're basically in this game of holding your happiness hostage like, oh, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy then, I'll be happy then, after this, after this. It's this constant then it could look like a fork in the road. You go, I'm done playing that. Enough of this. And then it's almost like a dropping, it's a stopping of that game. And whatever that is, it could look like a relationship, it could like a job position, it could be whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
It could look like that where a good chunk of it just drops off kind of thing. Because it's just like you see it's your the clarity is increased and now you're able to see. And it's just almost like a yeah, this it's like you've got the clarity. You say it's not going to work out. This is what's been happening the whole my whole life. Is this like
Yeah,
later kind of
yeah,
thing?
exactly.
But then it's like then in order for that happiness, it's like then it's like what's there's it's like there's a sacrifice. There's a
That's it.
sacrifice.
I
Is there
saw it.
something then drops off? Something falls away. There's a big chunk of something that falls off.
Mm-hmm.
It's replaced because then you experience the happiness. You experience more of the happiness. The more of that identity starts falling away, you're definitely experiencing more of the happiness. But it's like I said, it's like a trade-off to be this separate self. It comes with a lot of unhappiness.
Automatically.
It's the
Yeah.
opposite. It's like the opposite of happiness. It's like the opposite. It's like if you want, there's the happiness or there's like the separate self kind of thing. But a lot of times you don't see it as the separate self like this. You're not seeing it like that. It looks like a lot of the identification. It might look like I said like a relationship. It might look like a job. It might look like a home. It might look like something that's there's so much attachment to because the things that we're attached to, we are creating a very strong sense of identity. So being like in a relationship with someone and having a very strong attachment, you're like, oh, this person, I knew them from since high school and you've been with them for 10 years. There's a huge amount of attachment there, which means that there's going to be a huge amount of identity.
Mm-hmm.
Or someone's like really attached to like their sports car, but then they've created such an identity as like a car guy and fixing up the car and all this stuff and so much identity to it. People create it. There's identities of everything. Someone's a Starbucks girl or Starbucks guy or this type of brand. I like Apple products. That then all of that is identity if you're attached to it. And because you're attached to it, then it's like you're not free.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So then it's letting go of that. It's seeing that. But like I said, is
Yeah.
when you're letting go of every time you're letting go of that like attachments to things, you're letting go of like pieces of your identity. You're letting go of like who you think you are. And it kind of sometimes it feels like when you let go of something, it's like, oh, I don't know who I am then. What's that? And then you're left with that feeling that I don't know. You're left with who am I? Who am I
Yeah.
without this job? Which then in that level of sincerity, then there's the possibility to actually find out. That's why you can't just come. to these meetings and go through the motions and say, yeah, let's do the self-inquiry. Unless you're sincere about inquiring, unless you're actually investigating sincerely, exploring sincerely, then you'll never come from this place of this emptiness where you're like, who am I? It'll be almost like this kind of pretense, like you're just playing around. Oh yeah. Who am I? But it's like you'll say who am I with the left hand, but you'll know who you are and say, well, I'm a guy, or I'm a engineer, or I'm a student, or I'm a whatever it is. You'll know this. You'll say this to me, but then you'll kind of always be holding it. You're like, what is he talking about? Of course I'm the
Yeah, you're
engineer.
like looking for something to prove something different to you.
Yeah.
Or yeah,
Yeah, you're
yeah,
just you're
that
you're
makes
it's
sense.
like you're hiding this. It's like you're hiding your hand saying like, I'm not gonna let go of this engineer. But yeah, who am I? Because maybe there's something better.
Hmm.
It's like another, let's just go through this enlightenment stuff to maybe get to a better identity.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
not
for
how it
sure.
works. It's like I said, it's a destructive process in the sense of all of the identity who you think you are is being destroyed. All of the lies, all of the illusion is being destroyed. So it feels a lot like things are falling apart, things are falling away. And then that,
Yeah,
like, as that process, it's like you're almost like more aware of that, the falling away of things, the ending of things. And you start seeing it more and more in different
I think Mateo
in
has
different
something come
aspects
up.
of life.
I'm not sure if you saw.
What was that?
Mateo raised his hand, I think, there quick.
Oh no, I don't. He's not even on my screen. That's what I said is
Oh no, I was actually reacting.
oh,
Oh,
you're reacting.
I was trying to react like
With what,
with
like an emoji or something?
yeah,
yeah,
the
with a
preach.
laughing emoji
Oh,
Oh,
because
okay.
I identify with everything you're saying, so it's
Oh,
like
okay, that's
so
good.
funny.
I was
Yeah.
just about to say, let's I'm gonna ask you because I don't want to go over time.